There comes a moment in life when everything you've built just collapses. And I'm not talking about losing a job or ending a relationship. I'm talking about that instant when you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back at you anymore. When the foundation you thought was solid turns out to be made of sand, and suddenly you're standing in the ruins of your own existence, wondering how you got here and if you'll ever find your way out. It's that 3 a.m. moment when the silence becomes so loud it's deafening, when every decision you've made feels like it led you to this exact point of breaking, and the weight of it all sits on your chest, making it hard to breathe, making it hard to believe that tomorrow could possibly be different from today. If you've been there, if you know that feeling of complete and total collapse, right, I've been there. In the comments, because what I'm about to share might just save you from staying in that place one more day than you have to. This is where the story really begins. Not at the top, but at the absolute bottom, where everything that's about to change first has to fall apart. But here's what nobody tells you about rock bottom. It's quiet there, so quiet that for the first time in maybe your entire life, you can actually hear yourself think. You can hear that small voice inside that's been trying to get your attention for years, but couldn't compete with all the noise of who you were pretending to be and what you thought you had to accomplish. And in that silence, something shifts, something so subtle you might miss it if you're not paying attention. It's not a lightning bolt moment. It's not some dramatic revelation that changes everything in an instant. It's more like a gentle whisper that says, maybe, just maybe, this breakdown is actually a breakthrough in disguise. If this part is touching something inside you, take a breath with me right now. Because what happens next requires you to trust the process even when you can't see the path forward yet. Growth doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It doesn't arrive when you're ready. It emerges in the quiet spaces between your heartbeats, in those moments when you choose to get up one more time, even though every part of you wants to stay down. That's where the real transformation begins. Not in the falling, but in the slow, deliberate choice to rise again. And as you rise, something absolutely extraordinary happens. You start discovering parts of yourself you never knew existed. Strengths that were forged in the fire of everything you survived. Wisdom that could only come from walking through the valley of your own suffering and coming out the other side still breathing, still hoping, still believing that your story isn't over yet. The person you're becoming isn't weak, isn't broken, isn't defined by what tried to destroy them. They're rebuilt from the ground up with a foundation that can't be shaken because it's made of every tear you've cried, every night you survived, every morning you chose to try again when giving up would have been so much easier. If you've already felt this power awakening inside you, drop "I'm rising" below, because you need to know you're not alone in this transformation. You need to know that every single person who's ever overcome anything worth overcoming walked this exact same path of discovering. They were always stronger than their circumstances, always more resilient than their pain, always capable of rebuilding what life tore down. This is the moment when victim becomes victor, when your wounds stop being weaknesses and start becoming your wisdom, when everything changes because you finally understand that growth isn't about avoiding the hard things. It's about letting the hard things remake you into someone unstoppable. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the story takes a turn that changes everything, because what I've shared with you so far is only the beginning, only the surface of a truth that runs so much deeper than you might imagine. And there's something else, something crucial that I haven't told you yet about what happens when you truly embrace this transformation, when you stop resisting the growth and start leaning into it with everything you have. Standing here on the other side of my own collapse and rebirth, I can see now that there was a pattern I was missing, a piece of the puzzle I couldn't see when I was in the middle of the storm. And that missing piece, that final revelation, it's what separates people who overcome their circumstances from people who get completely transformed by them, who don't just survive, but actually thrive in ways they never imagined possible before everything fell apart. And that truth, that final piece that changes the entire game, it's waiting for you in the next part of this journey. And I promise you this, when you discover it, when you finally see what I'm seeing now, you'll understand why. Everything had to happen exactly the way it did, and you'll never look at your struggles the same way again.